Welcome to PowerUp podcast, the podcast that seeks to empower and dismantle, giving us the power and confidence to question, deconstruct, rebuild, and expand in life. I'm your host, Amma Rouge, voiceover and multidisciplinary artist, well-being advocate, food and book geek with over 14 years of movement-centered experience.
I am your host, Ella Mesma, artist, choreographer, yogi and coach with a passion for alchemy, creativity, transformation and workplace wellness.
We recognise that we can't dismantle and empower or be empowered without first learning ourselves, diving deeper to unlearn the harmful, restrictive and unprogressive. It's an ongoing practice and journey for us all, which is why we created this podcast.
Our show features guests doing the work to enlighten, deconstruct and power up in their own magical ways.
We're going to be having conversations around the power of healing, transformation, well-being and creativity, and how they feed our personal and collective evolution, how they help us power up.
We have Karolina Barwinski in the house. Karolina is a heart-centered human, mother, moon lover, and pregnancy, birth, and motherhood guide. Wow. So excited to have you in this space. Welcome. Karolina's pronouns are she, her. She works with women on their motherhood journey who want to fully awaken and embody their creative feminine power. Through the lenses of yoga, breathwork, astrology, mindfulness, and the subconscious mind, she guides women to create a unique blueprint of self-care and self-love for themselves and own their feminine power. Karolina is trained as a childbirth educator, prenatal yoga teacher, yoga Nidra guide, and nutrition and healthy lifestyle coach, and infuses her embodied wisdom across all her programs and coaching. Welcome.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
And on the day of recording, it is a full moon, which feels kind of synchronous.
Yes, it really does. I am happy to share a little bit more, but this is how the moon has helped me on my journey, especially in motherhood. That's when I really started to follow the cycles and the signs that the moon goes through every month. And I don't think it's a coincidence that we're speaking today on a full moon in Aries. Such a beautiful, powerful moon today. Yeah,
I love it.
Karolina, I would love to know what sparked the trajectory that you're on right now with Moonlight Motherhood and everything else that came with that.
Yeah, so we were talking a little bit before hitting record, and Ella, you had mentioned how so often moms kind of start anew, having become mothers and parents. And it's like starting a new life, a new path, a new chapter. And it was very much so the same for me. My birth was something that I was really looking forward to, a little scared of. And in the end, I had an idea of how I really wanted to be in my body and really feel the exaltation of the birth experience. And because, knowing how powerful it can be. And I throughout my pregnancy, I was just trying to talk to as many moms who had gone through the birth experience and for whom it was really empowering. So many talk about how hard it is, how painful, how they don't necessarily want to remember it. And so I was really trying to focus on the positive stories, the empowering stories. And it really, so when it came to my birth experience, it wasn't exactly how I wanted it to be, but having gone through it, it was hands down one of the most powerful embodied experiences I ever had. And afterwards I couldn't stop talking about how powerful I felt. I was like on the mountain, like wanted to scream, like, oh my God, I'm so open, so like this, I'm so capable of anything I really want to put, my mind to. And
so it is pelvic power.
Yes. Yeah, it was. And that was just like the first sampling of like what power is for any person, but especially someone who's, who's pregnant and about to have the birth experience, to know that this can be so incredible. And it doesn't mean, this is life in general. Doesn't mean it's going to be orgasmic, which it was in some ways. And the power comes from just, the less resistance that you have to whatever is happening, and just allowing it, getting out of your own way and trusting your body. I mean, the pressure is needed to step into what you truly want. And so, a contraction is needed to get the baby out, to move the baby out, and it's a beautiful metaphor for life right now too. When there's pressure, that's when, and we allow ourselves to feel it and not resist it. That's when we are able to step into our potential.
With pressure, it's really easy to resist it, and sometimes to not even recognize that we're resisting it. But just that understanding of, actually, after the contraction comes a birth, comes this gift, comes this thing which actually transmutes all of that contraction into aliveness and wonder and possibility.
Yeah.
And on that note, I'd love to know, like, how that has kind of come with you over your experience since giving birth. Like, how has that epiphany helped or supported you as a mother and as a human?
Yeah, thank you. That's it, when I had the birth and began my journey as a mother with my son on the outside. The more I connected within, the more I allowed for my body to be a barometer, really, for, to tell me every single minute, second, every moment in the day, what is good for me and what is not, what feels right, what feels off. And that's where I began to really tap into my intuition. And being in my body. So I for so long, you grow up, you're in your parents' home for the first, 18 or so years of your life. And during that time, especially in the first, 7 years, you're kind of programmed into, how things are done. How do you relate to other people? How do you, what does authority mean? And there was, and then you grow up and you go off to school and you become your own person. You learn about yourself. You become an individual, and you kind of separate yourself from your family for a little while. And then when I, for so long, until I became a mother, I was living in this kind of mode of masculine energy, of always doing, always following the rules, listening to authority, someone telling me, oh, this is good for you to do. You should take a computer class and not an art class, because a computer class, what are you going to do with art in your as an adult? So much in our lives, especially in the last several decades, if not longer, we've been living in such a patriarchal, heavy society where there's so much masculinity, so much masculine energy, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's no, and I don't know, I'll speak for myself, but my mother wasn't able to share it because she didn't know herself, because she wasn't taught herself the power of the feminine and what that means. And so much of it is what I'm learning now is intuition and being able to receive the wisdom and being a holder of this wisdom, and how powerful your body is regardless of what's going on on the outside. So we often search for power on the outside, and in so doing we lose our own sense of power. And so my curiosity since becoming a mom around, like, what does it mean to be in my feminine? What does it mean?
I'm really fascinated with the heroine's journey. So you have the hero's journey, but I think the heroine's journey for me is this. It's like the waking up to the feminine, and that actually it's a constant work we have to do. And I'm not talking about women when I say this. I'm talking about humans, that we live in this patriarchal world and we forget the feminine part, and that's within every single one of us. We all have masculine, we all have feminine, and we need to work with both to find balance. So I really resonate with what you're saying.
Yeah. And the feminine is so connected to intuition, and our intuition is the voice of the soul. And like you said, it doesn't mean that only women have this feminine, this intuition, and not men. It's all humans have this intuition. And the one way, and this is what I've gleaned from all these books that I've literally just come into my lap, like Women Who Run with the Wolves, and I'm reading Anatomy of the Spirit by Caroline Myss. And these are books where, it's not all about intuition, but there's stories and wisdom around intuition, and listening to it is how we feed it. And the more we are in our bodies, the more we slow down and listen to our heart and get into our heart, like feeling this elevated emotion of gratitude, compassion, love, and allowing ourselves to sit, hopefully daily, to tune into that. How we build on the power of intuition to guide us.
And can you share a little bit more about what you mean by slowing down?
Sure. So for me, slowing down is most profoundly about rest. And this has been, when the pandemic first started and everyone was forced to stay home, and we were asked to go inside our homes, but also in some ways to go inside our home. Our body is our home as well. And so there was no need to, unless you were, an essential worker and needed to be to show up in person, we didn't have to commute anymore. There was a moment in time where we had to just be. And not that everyone began to rest more because kids were home, and that's, made it even harder to have time for yourself. But slowing down is allowing yourself a moment, even if it's just a minute, to close your eyes, start breathing, listen to your body, and just allow yourself to hear your breath. It can also mean a bedtime ritual where you just don't just go from watching TV or watching a show or like washing dishes straight to bed. Maybe having some essential oils or taking a few breaths and feeling gratitude for the day, whatever happened on the day, and just being able to slow down and taking time to listen and to be instead of do and speak and act, which is what comes very naturally to all of us because we've been doing it for so long.
Yeah, love this.
And on the rest part, and this is a practice that has been so powerful for me, is yoga nidra.
I love yoga nidra too.
Yes. Oh my gosh. and maybe I'm in the part of my time of my life where I'm realizing how vital rest is to life, to living, to feel my aliveness, and not feeling like I'm a robot or a hamster on a wheel, just kind of churning, running through life, feeling like I need to just like get things done and move things out of my way, and to just really experience life. And so this yoga nidra is so much about this entering this space beyond the thinking mind where wisdom is available to us and where we more easily connect to our intuition. And it's impossible to connect to our intuition, to connect to our own inner wisdom, unless we come to this place of silence, of quiet, and inwardness.
And I feel like these are kind of like rituals that are helping you to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in turn, helping you to help other women be the best version of themselves within their motherhood journeys.
Yeah. And I wanted to share how I'm turning 40 in a couple weeks. And at 30, I thought I was going to have conquered the world and done so much already. And at 30, I remember I was already thinking like my career trajectory, I was working in investing, socially responsible investing, sustainability. And while there was the mission for that really resonated with me. I felt like I was doing good for the world, but the day-to-day never really did, and I was starting to wake up to the fact that I was led down this path that wasn't truly me. And only this year was I able to, when I started to kind of see how, like, really hear my intuition, I was having, and this is where following the moon cycles and like having a basic understanding of my natal chart, astrological natal chart, has really helped me get on this path that I'm on now. And during the spring, I was literally like having like breakdowns and so many tears, so much like rage coming out of me and triggered by certain things that, interactions that I had, mostly with my husband, who always so graciously was able to support me through it, and not easy not to take things personally. But yeah, I realized how, he was, as a partner, he's been such a rock in my life, so much stability. But we're both on this journey of listening to our hearts. And
beautiful.
yeah, and in May, literally on the drive down here, I was listening to a podcast on purpose, and my whole body just told me, you have to leave your job. And this has been telling me that, like, my intuition has been telling me. I literally had heard these words several times over the course of those 3 or 4 months leading up to that moment. But in this moment, as we were driving down to yet another, we've been moving around so much the last year, to another place where we're going to be living. And I was like, this is my moment to listen and act on this intuition. And it doesn't help to just listen to it and hear it, but it's important to act on your intuition too.
Yeah.
So I found myself like taking my earpods off, because our son was sleeping. We were both listening to our podcasts or audiobooks. And I said, Aaron, can we talk? Like, I think I need to leave my job, and it needs to be in a month, like now.
Well done.
And then all these like rational reasons started flooding, like, oh, but neither of you, like, I was the one, carrying the financial burden for the family. And what are we going to do? He's not working, but he is wanting to build up his own, business ideas. But where's the income going to come from? And so then we started to, break those were really just limiting beliefs that were keeping us back from living the life that we wanted, and to step into our own power of like being the creators of our own life.
Yes.
Because you're told you can't do this. Oh, this is going to be hard. Where are you going to earn the money? How are you going to earn the money? You're never going to earn as much money as you are now. You have a family to take care of. These are all just things that we're taught, that we're programmed with, that are so unconscious until we start really hearing ourselves say them and break.
Totally. And so you did it. How, we would love to hear, I'm sure the listener too, like, where has this taken you? What's the new journey? What are you creating?
Yeah, I did it. And it felt scary. I had so much fear running through my body, but it wasn't, but it was the same, like giving the birth. There was fear. There was, of course, like, oh, how much more painful is it going to get? These contractions. But I realized the pain that I had endured, like leading up to this moment, was going to be more intense than the potential pain that I may have making this decision.
What's amazing is all of this stemmed from your birth, really, your birthing journey, right? Literally from pelvic power, which is what this whole series is around. And I find it just so inspiring and incredibly powerful that all of this incredible change came into your world and into your lives from that moment. If you could leave our listeners with a message, what would it be, Karolina?
Well, for one, that you were born worthy. You don't have to earn your worth by getting the job that you think you want or being hired by someone. And this is where I always felt like, oh, they don't want me. Like I don't offer value. I don't have the right skills. If I didn't get a job that I wanted, you don't have to do anything to be loved. You by virtue of being born, being a human on this planet, you are worthy. You are loved unconditionally, and feeling into that and embodying it won't always come easily or quickly. And if you're unsure of yourself, unsure of your path, unsure of your purpose, not sure how to feel into your own worth and feel that love that you are so deserving of, and you feel disconnected from your feminine, consider looking within, but with the cosmos of what's happening with the planets as even the moon, and just starting off with the moon as your guide. So this ancient wisdom of the divine feminine is encoded in each one of us. And the patriarchy has demolished this power, but it's rising up. I know that I feel it. I know you both feel it. We all are feeling that feminine power rising in the greater consciousness of the world. And when you tune into the energies of the stars and begin to follow the moon and allow it to be your guide, you're able to find your own inner guide through that. Track in a journal how you feel with every phase. Notice when the moon is full. Notice maybe if you're a little bit wanting to understand the astrology, the signs, and the energies of the signs. Look at where the signs are. There's so many resources. And you'll start seeing patterns when you begin to track yourself. And the moon changes signs every 2.5 days, so you don't have to do it every day. But just if you do it consistently, you will begin to see patterns and to grow that feeling of that you have the wisdom that you need to create the life that you want.
Thank you for listening. You can connect to us and our guests via the links in each episode's show notes. Before you go, we invite you to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of the goodness to come. And if you enjoyed today, perhaps tell a friend to tell a friend. We are always grateful for you, our listeners, for our fabulous guests, and to everyone who has contributed to and been a part of our journey here.
Our music is by Tomo Carter. Everything else is brought to you by us, the PowerUp Power Team.
I'm Mesma.
I am Ama Rouge. And we are PowerUp Podcast.